This limited Kintsugi Heroes podcast series was made possible through grant funding provided by the New South Wales Department of Communities and Justice Connecting Seniors Grant Program. If you'd like to find out more about Kintsugi Heroes, head over to kintsugiheroes.com.au. Welcome back to our Kintsugi Heroes special series Connecting Seniors. This year we are continuing to share the experiences of ageing Australians to create connections across our communities. In this episode, John Millam meets up with Robyn Catchlove. Growing up in Adelaide, Robyn was a fiercely curious child, devouring books from the library and mastering puns and driving her parents mad with endless questions. Robyn later worked for the Weapons Research Establishment, becoming a secretary for a top-secret project. Leaving a stable but uneventful marriage, Robyn then spent 10 years fishing, tackling cyclones, crocodiles and men while cruising between New Guinea and Queensland. There she met Aboriginal elders, respecting and sharing their profound knowledge and traditions. After an unexpected spiritual awakening, Robyn immersed herself in Buddhism and its teachings, which resonated deeply with her adventurous spirit. Currently based in Katoomba, Robyn shares her stories and wisdom through community radio. She is a beloved local figure, the official witty public nuisance of Katoomba. We hope you enjoy Robyn's story.
Today this is just one of the best times for me, because I'm going to introduce you to an amazing force of nature, the beautiful Robyn Catchlove. Welcome to Kintsugi Heroes, Robyn. Or if I can, Catchy.
Oh, yes, please. And most delighted and honoured to be invited to wax lyrical with yourself in the dance of life.
The dance of life. So let's, that's fabulous. Let's dance a little today and see what steps we can come up with. I love that, and of course, it's all about me as well. Like my favorite award that I've ever received is third place in a dancing contest. So
yes.
So let's see how we go. So
third is a good position because you can always press on, can't you?
Yeah, well, it was a lot further along than I expected. So there you go. Yeah. Right. So I'm very grateful for that.
Can I just say,
of course.
I'm a number one witty public nuisance of Katoomba, and one of the joys that I have in public is that dance of us just greeting each other and exchanging a little bit of a story. And I often will go up to someone and just ask them what their music genre is.
Right. So you mean number one public nuisance in Katoomba? Of course,
witty public nuisance.
Yeah. Well, you reside in Katoomba now, so for the listeners' context. So you dance a little in the streets. Is that what you're saying? You dance with the words and curiosity and story?
Is essential that the streets anywhere, but the extraordinary, the honour of it is, for example, just recently, a little lady coming into a shop. She 150 years old, 3 foot nothing, spindly and bright eyed, and I just went to her and I said, "You're very beautiful. Thank you so much for being here." And she looked at me and she said, "You're an angel." She said, "God sent you." I thought God wouldn't send me, definitely, but she said, 46 years ago today, my son died. And she said, and I miss him. Oh. And we just stepped in and we just held each other and we sent love to her son. And then she just went, oh, now I can go on. And I thought, what an honour.
Yeah, wow. So being an official public nuisance, right? Spreading love.
Witty.
On the spreading love and nuisance on the streets of Katoomba. that's where you are now. It's not where you started though, Catchy. So maybe for the purposes of audience regulation, let's go way back to little fiery head Catchy when you were just a slip of a thing, and tell us where you started and a bit about moving out from that place.
Darling, as I was a bundle of knowing everything, half smart,
Yeah.
feisty,
Yeah.
defending the little ones who needed it, and driving my mother and father mad with questions. And I was extremely fortunate because mum and dad were wise.
Right.
We were poor. We had nothing. We'd get in the bus every Saturday morning into town to the library,
Oh,
and we'd spend a whole day in the library. Dad read the English dictionary when he was 21 for
wow.
fun and taught himself Latin on the way.
Oh,
And so by the time we were, 4 and 5 years old, we were bringing home books every week from the library. We were reading every night. Puns was our number one game at home.
mm.
And so, and they managed me well for, someone, a little chappie that thought she knew everything,
Where was this, Catchy?
It was, darling, this was down in Adelaide,
Oh, lovely.
where one only takes one's clothes off when the lights go out,
Oh,
darling.
oh. So you were in proper Adelaide. What did you folks do?
We were poor. We
That was
lived
their
in,
official designation, poor.
well, I didn't know that. We
Uh,
ate every night and the house was full of love. Dad was a wicker worker, then he was a greengrocer, then he was a public servant. They did whatever they could to keep the little household a cooking.
mm, mm. And how was your, a childhood of curiosity, obviously. What else?
Basketball, playing good sport,
Right.
easily, naturally gifted, I would suggest, not knowing that at the
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah.
But and cheating, I was very good at cheating. It's if I because I took no notice in the classroom when exams came around, I was terribly clever at
Yeah,
just sort of popping my eyes over the other person's work, and that got me through. Crafty,
crafty.
craft,
Street smart, right? So, yeah,
yeah, crafty Catchlove.
crafty catch love. I
Yeah,
like it. Yeah,
and discovered school was dreadful,
yeah.
and so didn't go anymore, and got sprung wagging it, and they ended up whipping me into a business college,
Mm.
and that was easy, so I stopped going. And Mum said, "Don't go, whatever you do, don't go to this naughty coffee club in the centre of Adelaide." And I said,
So,
"Where is it, Mum?" And
where
she
am I not
told me,
going,
so
Mum? What's the directions? Yeah.
yeah, so I went straight there.
Wow.
And in the end, I ended up working for Weapons Research Establishment, which was the mother station to Woomera,
Wow.
and
So you were
ended
in
up,
secret business.
yes, in the end, became the I was there for 10 years, and I became the steno secretary for a top secret mob
Mm.
called Narunga.
Right. What did they do? Is it still secret?
Well, it was back then. It was a political topic because they didn't brief the opposition member, but they briefed the prime minister,
Right.
and they briefed me, and they took me into this room, and there was their table with the map
Yeah, yeah.
over it, with the light
Oh,
coming down
lovely.
and swinging.
Um,
And I went, "Don't tell me, don't tell me." What it was that it was the United States Air Force Joint Australian Project, and it was the first spy satellite and I'm talking early 70s.
wow.
Yes.
Just a quick back to, like, you hated school. I can understand that.
It was just
You,
boring.
well, were you too clever for school? Yeah, like
And
no, a legitimate question. Like
but,
some people.
we're getting a little kid to sit at a desk
Yeah, yeah.
for 2 hours every, for 4 or 5 hours a day,
Hmm.
dipping their pen in ink or write. Of course, if you weren't, I think you're unhealthy
Yeah.
if you just cop that. So it was, yeah, it was just an adventurous
So
mind.
yeah, so 10 years in well, admittedly it was a kind of, cool occupation, but a fairly unadventurous one, really.
Oh, in front of a Bell typewriter every
Yeah,
day. No,
yeah, yeah. So what happened? Did you burst?
I was married to a very lovely man, and we ended up in Cairns, which was far enough away from his and my lovely families for me to leave him
Right.
and press on with having adventure.
Mm.
I didn't want to. I can remember that classic entering the church to get married and hearing the da da and thinking, oh no, I don't want to be married.
Uh,
But it was me, it wasn't him.
yeah. Yeah.
And ended up running into a naughty adventurer and building a vessel, a fishing vessel in a shed, living in this shed for 18 months, building a 30-foot by 11-foot 2,000 kilo freezer, 4-cylinder Bedford diesel engine vessel and popping it in the ocean, with the money that I got from the property that my husband and I sold.
Right.
And we turned left at the pointy edge and went up and professionally fished between New Guinea and Thursday Island and Queensland and down into the Western Gulf country for 10 years, where I wrestled crocodiles and sharks and cyclones and men, and the crocs were the easy ones.
Yeah. So you left your, lovely but boring husband,
Yeah.
became a fishing boat owner and
Yes.
hung out with a pirate, and then
Yes.
just said, "Hey, let's go fishing for 10 years."
Yes.
Okay.
No,
Well,
we
as
went.
one does.
We we leapt into the boat and we charged north, and we knew nothing about the sea.
Oh,
Of
right.
course, we didn't have any dinghy. We didn't have any life jackets. We had a map, a
Mm.
chart, and we as soon as we turned left, and the ocean picked us in one
Mm.
and slapped us around a fair bit. Thank you very much,
Mm.
to give us a bit of respect, and slapped us into Cooktown.
Right.
And the entire sea border was there because the weather was so bad.
Right.
And so we spent a week, all of us, raging through this little Cooktown and drinking the joint dry. And they said, whatever you do, don't go to the Normanby River, which was just above Cooktown. Whatever you
Right.
do, because there's an old cranky old man in there who carries an M1, which is a repeating rifle,
Yeah.
under his arm all day,
Right.
and has been known to cut people's ears off. Don't go there.
No. So
You
where
know,
did you go, Catchy?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
with 2 bottles of rum.
Oh, cool.
That's
Right.
where we went,
Right.
and we pulled up at the little wharf, man-made wharf, in this exquisite, glistening river. The sky was full of animals, the land was full, and so was the ocean. And the old man, then in his probably late 60s, with the furry hair coming out of the old wrecked captain's hat,
Yeah.
comes slopping down the wharf
With his M1?
and fires a few shots over the bow and says, "Oh, sorry, I thought I saw a shark." And I hid behind my bloke,
Yeah.
and he led with the 2 bottles of rum
Right.
and said, "Don't shoot us yet, Dave. You might like us. And by the way, so we tore the lid off of one of these bottles. It was 7 a.m. or something. We drank the bottle of rum, started to tear the lid off the second one, and the old man said, "No, that's mine, son." He said, "That's mine." He said, "Now, Robyn," he said, "we're going up the river to put some nets in. You can look after the kids and keep them away from the crocodiles." I said, "I want to come with you." And beginning of an extraordinary relationship with this old man that had a library of knowledge about the river.
Right.
This exquisite, glistening, untouched, completely intact wilderness.
So he was like the old man of the river. He was the repository of wisdom. How long had he been there?
He'd been up there for 10 years or so with a woman who was in her 30s, Ray. She had 2 front teeth missing.
Yeah.
She had long hair. She did all of the repair work on the engines, on the freezer engines, on the outboards. He had built a roof with 3 walls, timber, with a big timber table in the middle, which was filled with beer bottles, with gaskets, with old newspapers, with ashtrays, with cigarette butts in them, and he did all the cooking over a bubbling fire. He did, and brilliant. The roasts, the stews, the soups, just every day. And he knew everything.
That Australia is a wild place when you go to play, outside of the local areas and cities and towns, right? Those men that go there and women, right? It's a very rugged place, very seen as a very masculine place, and yet there were women there, of course. Were they? How did they cope? When did you like you're choosing to be there? What was that? Did you recognise that it was a masculine place, or
No.
was it not about that?
And for me, it was love, and I loved the man that I was with, and we were having an adventure, and every day was unknown. And there was always the learning about the oceans, about the tides, about the rivers, and the untamedness of it, I suppose. And yeah, the extraordinariness that we're talking late 70s, early 80s. So there was no one around but us's.
Yeah.
And we'd go upriver and wander around with no clothes on because we could.
Yeah.
And hey, the old man was a drinker, and he and every day, and he brewed his own brew, and there were big freezer units that we had, and so we'd shed our own cattle, and do all the filleting of the cattle, take the hind legs, check the liver to make sure that the cattle was healthy, and and then we'd fillet it all out. If your thumb went through it, it was steak. If your thumb didn't go through it, it was stew. That was how you made that.
Still a good rule in the kitchen.
Yeah. And so it was like that, and I don't think we thought about whether it was. We just were there.
Yeah. Well, it would have been a very tough existence, like physically demanding. How did you cope with that?
Yes, we were strong and healthy. I had muscles coming out of my muscles, and I always remember we'd been there a while, and we were working in relation with the old man and his woman Ray, and 2 little kids of theirs. And one day, and the old man was narky and always roaring orders, and wandering around with this M1 under his arm all day, and we were jittery.
Yeah,
we would and just one day It all got the better of me. And he's roared, "Someone's stolen the glasses." And I was the only one that wore glasses in the camp. And I just kicked my chair aside and leapt up. Inside here, I'm going, "What am I doing? Shut up, sit down." And up with the fists like bloody Muhammad Ali. And I said, "That's it. I've had enough. Get outside, Dave. Come on. Let's have a little bit of biffer." I'm not in here. I'm going, "Shut the you-know-what up." And he looked up at me, and all the crocodiles stopped moving, and the snakes stopped rustling in the grass, and the two little kids, they went, everyone, the entire bush held its breath because no one had ever. And he looked up at me, and this great big grin broke out, and he said, "Oh, Jesus, I love women." He said, "Come here, darling." He said, "Sit on my lap." And I did. And he said to me, "I'm sorry, love." He said, this was his apology. "It's my monster just taking me for a walk."
Oh, wow. Wow.
Isn't that a gorgeous description?
Oh, man. That's so deep, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Yeah, wow.
And he said, "And I love you, and, you know, I would never hurt you," and all of that. But,
wow. Of course, like, such an interesting self-awareness, right? The sense that, he doesn't have has never been to a psychologist, I'm sure, but that
yes,
sense that, he is where he is because he needed to regulate his monster.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Wow. What an
yeah.
amazing experience. So, of course, you're up there fishing and fighting and,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Being
stuff.
half smart.
Being how smart. 10 years. What happened?
And I was deeply very keen about politics and wanted always to have those kinds
Well,
of
because that was
discussions.
cutting edge, saving the Daintree and the forests in North Queensland and the fishing waters. Were you involved in that?
It was before all of that.
Right.
There was no one up there. We
Yeah.
were free. That was
Mm.
what was most extraordinary. To get a fishing license, you went into the fishing department and filled out a form and gave them $30.
Wow.
See you later, motors.
Yeah.
Later, we all had to sit for skipper's tickets,
Yeah, yeah.
which were involved, you know, doing,
Being
study.
actually knowing something, yeah.
Yeah.
What about of course that's a very it's a very old country with a people that existed there way before
Yes.
we got around. So how did that play out? How did you get on with the original inhabitants?
From the Cooktown, after a couple of years, we left and we went north, and we fished out of Thursday Island. And by the way, anybody who's watching, take the time to go up and experience the Thursday Island culture, which is not Aboriginal.
No.
Their necks are thicker than my waist.
Right.
They're big people, and they're different, different facially too. And we fished out of there Spanish mackerel, just south of New Guinea. And then we went down into the Gulf to Arakoon, where the Witmunkin people have camp and or have an establishment, shall I say, the mission it's called. And the Queensland government went through all of that country and used legislation to call them missions so that the mining companies could turn up and mine there, thank you very much,
Right.
without giving any royalties to the Aboriginals. And Weipa, which is where we're talking about, the bauxite is the largest deposit in the world. And so we were in Arakoon country, and that was our home port. And so we mixed with the Aboriginals, and it was sad. A lot of it, the mission money, the money would come, and a lot of them would drink, and the little kids would suffer. But also there was an extraordinary side, and one of them, Peggy, she and I, we became genuine mates with each other, and she would walk me, say, Robyn, look, see this tree here? Yes. She said, see the baler shell underneath? Yes. That's because there's water there, Robyn. Someone has left that bale of shell to show you that. Or here, look, this is where you dig for turtle eggs, but you don't take all of them, Robyn. So there was this. I was blessed to have this extraordinary exchange, and I said to her, I said before the British came, I said, the Indonesians came down through here and so did the Chinese. She said, Robyn, we already know that.
Yeah, yeah.
She said, this was passed down by word of mouth to us. So they were very, very knowledgeable about their history, and we had a deep respect. At one stage, in the wet, we weren't allowed to fish because the barramundi would be moving up and downstream and throwing their eggs.
Yeah, spawning. Yeah.
And so one year they came to the wharf to all the fishermen, and of course we had never asked anybody's permission. And they said, please don't go fishing for the next 6 weeks because one of ours have died. Albert, his name was, and he needs to know where he's going to settle. And everybody in the fishing fleet took no notice.
Yeah.
And went south. In Les and I, we went north. We didn't fish because they'd asked us not to. And so when that 6 weeks was over, we had caught nothing. But we went south again, and one day the Aboriginals, they turned up on the shore, and we went over and got them and brought them back, and you ice cream for the pickaninnies, cigars for the men, rollies, tobacco for the women, cups of tea. And they said, we fellas, we still saw what you did, not going where we'd asked you not to go. And he said, we want to offer you a child. And the mother, she's gone walkabout. And because of what you did, we know you have respect. We want to offer you a child. And I said, does that mean forever? They said, no, you can look after 4 some years, then they come and take. And I said, no.
Right.
And I'm sorry that I said no.
Yeah.
Now, because it would have been fortunate for that period of time. But they were like that, they were extraordinary people, and they shared a lot with us in their knowledge and skill.
Wow. All things change, though.
Yes. And I want to say, I think anybody who hasn't had regret in their life hasn't had enough adventure. But you can have regret, but don't hold it.
Yeah.
Just look at it and go, oh well, that was like that, but that's okay now too. To forgive it.
So regret is a low adventure indicator light, right?
You can look and say, I wish I'd done it differently, but let it go.
Yeah.
Don't hold it as a, So I'm saying, have adventure. See who you are, isn't it?
Well, that wasn't the end of your adventures. So
da, 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 da.
so turn the page, right? Your time as the matriarch of the fishing fleet is over, right?
There weren't many women on the ocean. I was one of probably 2 or 3. And the difficult part about that was that the men who owned boats and who were on the sea were pretty dreadful.
Yeah.
And that involved, who do you think you are? As a woman, you've got no right to be on the sea. And by the way, it's your fault we didn't catch any fish, or your fault that the engine's broken down. Oh, and by the way, you can sleep with me, and you can mend nets, and you can steer the vessel. And so it was at the beginning of the change. And I have realised now that men over the centuries have had a pretty dreadful model. They've been taught a dreadful model too,
Yeah, yeah.
you know. So yeah, there was.
So it's quite, as we talked about earlier, it's quite wild, right? So, but you're not, you were in the middle of this, kind of raw, violent, sort of real play, experience, right? But you're a friend of men. You're
Oh, absolutely, and celebrate in their extraordinariness and their skills and their knowledge and all of that too. Yes, and I think there was a fair bit of bloke in me at the same time too. That chappy.
yeah. Capable of, swinging it with the best of them.
Remember Weeper was a single men's mining quarters.
Right.
And there was one bar there at the end of the mining quarters, and men would drink their bummy, and because that's where we would tie the boat up.
Right. Yeah.
And I always remember throwing a punch there that worked. And as I ran away to hide under the wharf so that I wouldn't. But someone had been rude to me, and I'd had enough, and just let this fabulous right, what is it, wing just go kaboom, and most gorgeous. He just fell on the deck.
Well, you never mess with a fisherman. That was always a rule of mine. Never
Yeah,
never arm wrestle with a stonemason or a fisherman, right? So,
and I leapt over and ran.
beautiful. Yeah. So, how there's a big difference between Weeper, Aurukun, and of course Katoomba. So, tell
Yes,
us, how did you start to bridge the gap?
I don't know.
Because there were more adventures, right? Like I've seen the bio, right? You're up in North Queensland in this absolutely unsophisticated and quite raw place, but soon to be in some of the calmest, most tranquil places you could find. Tell us
It
about how
became,
you got involved with Buddhism.
oh, most interesting, uh, and most fortunate, and um, it must have been the early 90s or mid 90s, something like that. And I started having dreams of the Dalai Lama, and could remember back when I was little having similar dreams, and so one day I at that stage I was in Cairns, and I had a t-shirt factory that I owned.
Mm.
And the man that I was with was turning out to be a gambler,
Right.
and a heavy drinker, and losing it. And in amongst all of that, and we were both drinkers. And one night, after getting a good contract, upon driving home, I got arrested for drinking too much. They chucked me in the slot, and everyone's got to end up in the slot one time in their life. And I tried to talk the police into giving me the t-shirt contract for their
Yeah.
and when I went home and I realised I needed to tidy me up, amongst other, and I sat down and I wrote a letter, completely, immediately, spontaneously, to His Holiness, thanking him for coming to the West and bringing wisdom.
So you
And
just decided out of,
yeah,
you've just been released from the police station, so I better write a letter to
yeah,
the Dalai Lama. Okay.
here I am sorting out the money, which is rapidly going in gambling, etc.
Yeah.
And there was no internet then, so I just addressed it to the Dalai Lama, North India, and put lots of stamps on it.
Yeah, right.
And it was just to thank him
Yeah.
for coming, and popped it into the mail to satisfy me. And so just before I limped out of Cairns with no loot in the pocket and
So
drove
a failed business venture because the man has let you down again.
because he's gambling, because he's drinking, etc.
Yeah.
And not expecting to drive the 3,000 miles home brokenhearted and torn apart and don't got no loot and another, adventure in smithereens. And this envelope turned up. I thought, who would be writing to me from North India? And opened it up, and it was a letter from His Holiness.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Saying, thank you very much for your offer of services. Thank you for your letter and for your offers of services. And so I limped to it and thought, I went, oh yeah, penny didn't drop. Went down to Adelaide and somehow discovered along the way that he was coming. It was his first journey.
Wow.
And I know, I was driving home one day and a house called out to me and it said, Robyn, you have to stop and look. And so I backed up and there was this little 3 red brick house. And I thought, oh yeah. And above it was written, Thai Buddhist meditation temple. And I drove off, and 2 or 3 weeks later, unbeknownst to me, I got out of bed one morning, showered, got in my car and just drove there.
Wow.
Without knowing I was doing it, and knocked on the door. And this robed monk came. He said, do you have an appointment? I looked at him, I said, mate, I said, I've got no idea. You tell me why I'm here.
Yeah.
I don't know. And went in and sat, and when this monk put his hands together, I did. And when he didn't, I didn't.
Yeah.
And he was speaking Malaysian anyway. And I told him just before I left that the Dalai Lama had written me a letter. And I went home and thought, oh yeah. 2 or 3 weeks later, I get a phone call, and it's the monk asking me, would I mind taking he and his sidekick to a meeting in the centre of Adelaide where all the Buddhists were gathering because the Dalai Lama was coming.
Wow.
And there I was in the FJ Holden with the column shift with 2 monks in the back. And here I am, this funny fisherman, driving these 2 monks to this public meeting.
Yeah.
And I knew no one. And coming out as secretary of the tour in South Australia, mysteriously. Maybe no one else wanted to do it.
So another secret sort of secretarial role just popped up. So you became the secretary for the tour
in South Australia.
In South Australia, my goodness, right?
And put on a fabulous concert at the Adelaide Town. Did things.
Yeah.
But by the time he came, I was with a scurrilous chappie, and I wasn't in Adelaide. And so after he came to Australia, he went to New Zealand. And so I caught a plane.
So you didn't meet him after all of that? You didn't meet him in Australia?
No.
Huh?
I caught a plane to New Zealand just to follow him. Because I was so disappointed in missing him. And wherever he went, I just rang the tour operators the day before and would say, where is he? And they'd say, oh, he's in Wellington, or he's in where, and I'd go there and get there early and just go into whatever he was doing. And one day I rang and I said, where will he be tomorrow? And they said, he'll be at the Wellington Parliament House, but you're not welcome.
Oh.
Dangerous. You should never say that to me.
No. Why were you not welcome? Was that a general not welcome?
No, it was a political gathering.
Oh, right. Okay.
So they didn't want the peasants there, so to speak.
They didn't want the simple followers,
Yeah. Yeah. And so the next morning I leapt out of bed and tarted up, put on some nice clothes, caught a cab, went there, and there's this big Maori guard standing at the door. And I go up and I say, excuse me, my name's Robyn Catchlove, and I'd very much like to go to this meeting.
Yeah.
And, that I was involved in Adelaide. And he big and lovely, and he goes, bro, I can't get you in there, bro. And I said, well, who can? And he said, bro, he said, the mayor can. And I said, well, take me to the mayor. And again, I've got no idea what's taking place. It's just, and so we go along the mahogany polished floors, up the mahogany stairs to the mahogany door.
Yeah.
Knock, knock, knock. Door opens. There's the mayor.
Sitting at a mahogany desk.
Yeah. And he's got the gold chains and a little bit of dandruff on his
Yeah, of course.
boot. And and the Maori goes, this is Robyn, and disappears. And I say, well, how do you do? Brushed a little bit of his dandruff off, tidied up his gold chains. And I said, my name's Robyn Catchlove, and I very much, I've been involved in the tour in Australia and very much like to come to this meeting. And he had a pulsing red nose. I think he might have had a couple of tipples. But he said, my dear, he said, not only can you come, he said, you can come on my arm.
Oh, lovely.
And popped his arm out. And I said, well, thank you very much. And off we go down this hallway.
Paid off putting the good clothes on.
Yeah. And off he and I go down the hallway to this meeting, and His Holiness comes in and is joyous and laughed. And I definitely didn't need to be there, but was. And afterwards they had canapes and champagne, and I'm busy popping canapes in the pocket and sipping champagne. And the crowd parts, and it's the mayor with His Holiness. And the mayor comes up and he says, Robyn Catchlove. He said, Robyn Catchlove, this is His Holiness, as if I didn't know. This is His Holiness. And His Holiness, this is Robyn Catchlove.
Oh.
And I was honoured and silent and speechless. And I mean, I know His Holiness didn't go back to India and say, I met Rob in New Zealand.
Yeah, thank goodness. I'm sure he tells this story often, right?
But what a fortunate honor,
So so that wasn't your end of Buddhism, of course. Right?
Oh no,
a groupie.
Their teachings are profound, and you don't have to call yourself a Buddhist or a Christian or an anything. It's just truly deeply about a compassion that exists in your heart continuously, and you sitting in it. And so their teachings are the teachings about how you and I can attain enlightenment. It's not about somebody who's already enlightened and you'll never get there. It's being taught that you can do the same. And that when you, of course, the call of compassion is profound and undeniable.
I remember, way before I even, explored anything particularly deep, reading the Guide to Happiness from His Holiness. And I remember being challenged completely by the idea that the people I needed to be most grateful for were the people who caused me the most trouble. Because that was the biggest opportunity for me to be a better person. Yeah. So, and that simple principle I've found has underpinned all aspects of personal development and growth, across the world, where regardless of how people describe it or they come up with stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yes. And isn't that true? Ultimately, I am what's called a Dzogchen practitioner. And that comes from protecting Tibet, but before Tibetan Buddhism. So in India, the Muslims were razing India to the ground, and so a lot of realized teachers went to Tibet.
Yeah.
And that is how Tibetan Buddhism took place. But before that was a culture called Bon, B-O-N.
Right.
And they had been practicing this awareness of compassion 1,000 years before Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And my teacher, Kijo Rinpoche, not only had they been practicing it, but he said that it was being taught in 16 galaxies.
Yeah.
Isn't that fabulous?
So so an extensive school, not just your earthly.
Yeah. Galaxies.
So of course Rinpoche, like a world recognized figure, right? How are you hanging out with him?
Oh, he's no longer alive,
No.
but he was a most extraordinary man in that he didn't necessarily dress in robes. And that's what he was saying. You don't have to do deep meditations, become aware of yourself and your limitations and let them go. A beautiful, what's that word? Universal teachings.
Yeah. In many ways, he was responsible for almost mainstreaming Buddhism in some ways, right? So, he had quite a profile in the West. So,
Namkhai Norbu Rinpoche talks more about Dzogchen
Right.
than Tibetan Buddhism.
Right.
So which goes back further. So in Tibetan Buddhism, there's 4 main schools and about 9 schools. And His Holiness the Dalai Lama is the head of the Gelug tradition. So there's Gelug and Sakya.
Right.
There's a range of similar but different practitioners. Dzogchen is that before that, and more simple, yet more profound, I suspect.
So,
And it's the draw of that, having that for you and for I, for all of us, the irresistible knowledge that compassion is our central heart for all beings, for all sentient beings. There's a prayer, it goes, may all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings not be separated from sorrowless bliss. May all sentient beings abide in happiness without sadness, attachments. Alalaho.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm up for that.
Yeah.
And of course, that's, you practice that every day these days. Just a little backtrack, right? You mentioned you're scurrilous man. I think in the bio, there's quite a lot of scurrilous men.
You're right.
Right. So was that part of the journey? Is like, why were you, why you were hanging out for, Les was your great adventure. And of course there were, gamblers and fighters and rough blokes and stuff. So, so what's that journey about? What's your journey? What's the journey of a heart meant to you?
I think a heart full of love and wanting to give and mistaking passion for love.
Yeah.
And giving readily. Many of them I would call wounded warriors already, and so was I.
Are you trying to fix these men, Catchy?
But wanting to be fixed.
Yeah.
And they weren't the days when you could go to somebody and ask them questions. There was my healingness was in there trying to learn too, I think.
Yeah.
And the adventure, I think I was fearless, driving to different towns and setting up on my own and going and getting work selling real estate. I used to drive out into the mining country and sell real estate to in Thierry and Middle Mountain, Wollongong, you know, on my own.
Yeah.
Do 500-600 kilometers and then go and do presentation or sell opals or
Yeah.
you know, it's unexplainable. It's like Sir John, is life unexplainable though, in your view, or with what's taken place with your life?
Yeah, I like it's a great question, Catchy. Perhaps I think the definition of life might be just how actively we try to explain things, right? So, you know, maybe a great life is a curious life, a life where we try to answer questions that probably don't have an answer, right?
Ah,
So,
so that's a top answer. That they don't have an answer. I remember many years later going to my mum when I was, I don't know, in my 50s and saying and apologizing
yeah,
for the life. And she looked at me and she said, Robyn, she said, if you'd have been one of the boys,
yeah,
it would have been all right. But she said, you were my daughter.
yeah,
And she took me to her wardrobe and she took out this lovely plastic sealed bag inside of which was a hand crocheted by her christening gown.
oh,
She looked at me and she said, this was for your first child.
oh, kiddo.
And we looked at each other and we burst out crying.
Yeah.
And she said, the life is, Mum and Dad, but your life is written already.
Mm.
You know, which is unexplainable, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. You know, like did you ever feel like you were going in a direction where you had no choice, where you had no power? Right. Because that's, you know,
Oh,
if our
yeah.
life is written, we don't have choices yet. We make lots of choices, don't we?
Oh, yeah. Many years lost, hurt,
Yeah,
suffering, uh, suffering for love, for
yeah,
being on my own, um, unexplained, not being able to. Oh, of course,
yeah.
all of that humanness.
What did you learn? What would you what would you summarize your big learnings from that whole, you know, from that level of experience of diving in?
I discovered one day as I was grizzling to me about what I should or shouldn't have or how I was. And
Yeah.
I had a quick chat to me and I used the magic word, I might add. And I said, Robyn, shut the you know what up
Yeah.
and start getting grateful
Yeah, well.
and thank everything, in particular the things you don't like. Thank you, rain that's making me wet and I don't like it, but I know you're watering something somewhere. Thank you, little bird that's just died in front of me, for what you're teaching me. Just thank you for that funny little box in the kitchen that you open and all the lights go on and everything inside it's cold.
Yeah.
Thank you for water coming out of the shower. Just started thanking everything. And I think in that is you forgive everything. And it falls away. It doesn't take, you don't have to practice it and think it and figure it out and sit there with your candles and your Buddhas and your blah-de-blahs and get lessons. You
Mm.
just start thinking.
Yeah.
Just thank you, little eyes, for still seeing, ears for, you know, just and thanking nature. You know, that little flower I saw this morning, so extraordinary, and it just unfolded. And it was yellow and pink and orange on the inside, colours you never put together. And you, what have you discovered?
The hugeness in smallness.
Go on, go
Well,
on.
this isn't about me, Catchy. So you clever thing, right? But yeah, just that the more the more we're certain, the more we see ourselves as big and important, the more sure we are of anything, the further away we are from truth.
Rather than truth, can I suggest awareness?
Yeah, I think that's
So
a good suggestion. Yeah.
so
The
that
further we are away from awareness, yeah.
so that you don't go, this is good and this is bad.
That's right. It's meaningless.
You recognize it and allow it. Maybe it's something like that. And all I can say is I'm a fabulous #1 witty public nuisance of mirror, but for that same joy, I mean,
Yeah.
the simpleness of being able to, not long ago, and I'm saying that I'm honoured. Honestly, I'm no heroics at all. Recently, a big truck, 100-tonner, pulls up at the petrol station, but out on the footpath, not in the station. And I think, oh, I'll go and be wittily charming. And he's standing there, and he's mid-70s, muscly, windblown, Aussie, bronzed,
Weathered.
bit
Yeah.
thin, weathered.
Yeah.
Got the stubby shorts on that he probably wore for a fortnight one way and turned them around the other way for the next fortnight. The Jackie Howe,
Yeah.
and the rolly unlit.
Yeah. Oh, lovely. Yeah.
And he's wiping the big bumper bars in the front of his truck, and I could feel he wasn't happy. And I went to him. I said, "Are you all right?" And he looked at me and started to rub his heart. He said, mate. He said, "No, I'm not, mate." I said, "What's wrong?" He said, "Mate," he said, "I've driven millions of kilometres." And he said, "I've been on the road all my life." But he said, "I never get over it." And I said, "What?" And he said, "Mate," he said, "I just ran over a roo."
Oh.
And I said to him, "Is he dead?" And he said, "That's the best bit, mate, he is." But he said, "I never get over it." And we just put our arms around each other and we sent the roo love,
Right.
isn't it? And we both did. And it was an honour for us both. And then he went, "Oh," he said, mate, he said, "Now I feel better." He said, "I feel better now." And he swung up into his cab, and I threw him some, love from the heart. He did the same back. Isn't it? And off he went, trundled off into, the highway of life. Those moments, they're precious, but they're there for everybody.
Yeah.
Just a dance, isn't it?
What a dance it is. Of course, people can they can read your book, and
They can read the book.
yeah, they can read your book. It's available. I'm sure they can find it on back lists and things, and at bookstores, or on your website.
The name of the book is Somewhere Down a Crazy River.
Somewhere down a creek.
Yeah, and it comes somewhere down a crazy river, and it comes from Robbie Robertson, who was the leader of the band that backed Bob Dylan.
Right. Wow.
And Robbie Robertson, who has just recently died, was a fabulous singer, and he sings this song about somewhere down a crazy. I know. I think I'll go and see Madam X. And he's down in sort of Mississippi, somewhere like that. So there's a reference with respect to him.
So Somewhere Down a Crazy River by Robyn Catchlove. Of course, they can listen to you on community radio. You're on Radio Northern Beach, Radio Blue Mountains.
Yeah.
With a couple of shows, right? Keeping the locals both up to date on love and gratitude and good music.
Good music and community radio is extraordinary because the community owns it. And so people who are doing interesting things in the community, come on my station, Come and let me interview you. Come and let us share. So yeah.
That sounds amazing. Catchy, it's been a wonderful small taste, just a tiny taste of your incredible life, which I am so grateful for you sharing with me and the Kintsugi Heroes listeners. Your wisdom is profound, and I'm so grateful that you are both in the world spreading that little bit of kangaroo love, right?
Thank you, Don.
And that you are a witty nuisance for all of us.
And can I please just say, you are a joy, and your wisdom and your knowledge and your willingness to share at a deep level is essential for us all to hear, women and men alike. And I deeply appreciate that. Thank you, goddess man.
Wow. Thank you, Catchy. Very grateful.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Connecting Seniors, a Kintsugi Heroes special series. If you enjoyed this conversation, share the podcast with a friend and let us know by leaving a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to support Kintsugi Heroes and the stories we share, head to kintsugiheroes.com.au and follow the instructions to make a tax-deductible donation. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week.